Hello Thunder Bay, Northwest Ontario Therapy here for another episode of Hope This Helps. This is our third episode since moving, and today I'm going to unpackage a subject I've studied for many years. This may last a little longer than our regular 2.5 minutes. Please bear with me as I will solve two of the world's major issues in this broadcast. I'll try to make it fun and entertaining as well as informative. Remember to like and subscribe for more videos. Today we want to discuss attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. How many kids with ADHD does it take to change a light bulb? Want to go ride bikes? A dumb old joke that demonstrates a very old mindset. You see, the problem of ADHD, as we call it today, has been around for more than 50,000 years. We have done extensive study on it and what the underlying biological cause is. Watson and Crick decoded the double helix of DNA in 1953. In 2003, we finished mapping the human genome, and since then we've been able to clone sheep, identify genetic traits, and even identified how viruses affect our DNA and RNA. So understanding human genetics has become a story that has been laid on the table. Science has identified the genetic changes that occur with ADHD people and the differences in brain development that lead to the symptoms we see, or believe we see, in roughly 20% of the population. To understand how ADHD changes the brain, we first have to understand how the thought process works. You see, when we experience a sensation somewhere in the body, an electric signal is transmitted throughout the nervous system to the brain, and specifically it travels down a highway that includes the basal ganglia, the globus pallidus, and ending in the hypothalamus, which is the part of the brain that decides where this signal needs to go: the back of the brain, middle of the brain, or front of the brain. The back of the brain, this is something you don't have to worry about. This is what Freud would call the ID part of the brain. This is the involuntary muscle movements, the things that keep us alive, such as breathing and heartbeat, that we have no control over. The middle part of the brain, this is the reactionary part of the brain. Home to the amygdala, the fight, flight, or freeze response. This is the part of the brain that you have an instinctual control over. It's the part of the brain that decides, if I've thrown a pencil at you, do you A. catch the pencil, B. sweat the pencil to the ground, C. dodge the pencil, D. do you get hit with the pencil? The last one is why I no longer throw pencils at clients, to demonstrate this point. But the overall point being that the middle part of the brain doesn't stop and question, it reacts to keep you alive. The brain puts more emphasis on the signals sent here for an immediate reaction. Finally, the front part of the brain is the part of the brain that allows us to stop and consciously think about a reaction and use our higher brain functions to examine option A and option B and the consequences for option A and the consequences for option B, and make an informed decision about what is the best choice. Now, the bad news for parents is that this part of the brain doesn't fully develop until around age 24. So at early ages, children's brains have a natural parietal lobe, middle of the brain, dominance. Again, kids are naturally impulsive as they haven't developed the right tools to make better decisions. So think of the last stops on the thought highway like an egg white and yolk. Now, what they have found in diagnosing ADHD brains is that the egg white part of this thought highway is about 20% smaller in someone with the mutation. The main job of the egg white in this example is to slow down that electric current that is coming through. With less egg white, the message hits the egg yolk, hypothalamus, faster, and the brain has a natural reaction to send the message to the middle part of the brain, which, as we discussed, doesn't take the time to think about options and consequences, but makes a knee-jerk reaction. This is biologically what ADHD is. As technology develops, we can see this pattern in real time. However, the tests for this are still way beyond the price range and capacity of your average school counselor, child therapist, or teacher. So they look at the symptoms as kids that don't sit still, have excess energy, and can't focus, and say this is ADHD. However, as we know, symptoms of diseases can overlap, and symptoms of normal childhood include kids don't sit still, they have excess energy, and can't focus on anything. Think of nature. Kids jump and kick and have the most energy of any other animals in the pack. They are at the peak of their physical prime, and we ask them to sit quietly and be calm. It's a little unnatural. Currently, around 20% of children between the ages of 5 and 18 are given medication for ADHD. These are stimulants. They are designed to increase the activity in the area around the yolk. This solidifies the area and helps decrease the speed the message gets to the hypothalamus. However, the mutation that we have identified only occurs in about 5% of the populations. This means that 3 out of 4 times a child is given amphetamines as a behavior deterrent and not a solution to a biological problem. This pattern over time has escalated to a full-on epidemic of meth use throughout the country. You see, amphetamines that are given to children for ADHD are chemically almost identical to methamphetamines and far cheaper bastardizations that have been ravaging our society for more than 3 decades. To demonstrate the long-term effects of amphetamine/methamphetamine use, let me show you the brain. In studies of schizophrenia, we can see the differences in the brain gapping we see in this twin study. The twin on the left was diagnosed as schizophrenic, and we see the darkened gaps in the scan. Now this next scan is that of a long-term amphetamine user. You see the burnout that has occurred is much on the scale with schizophrenia. This causes permanent damage and is not repaired. Around here they have a motto that says every child matters. And this is a great idea. However, there is no motto for every adult matters, and the pattern of medicating children and then turning them loose at 18 years old. And then they can't function without the medication. Turning to street drugs and ruining their life is a common pattern. So if you are a parent in the Thunder Bay area and are concerned about your child having ADHD, please listen, come to NWO Therapy. We use the Reynolds Adaptable Intelligence Test, a test that has been designed to reliably identify the difference between normal and abnormal processing. It offers valuable insight and information for parents and can change the trajectory of a child's life. This has been Northwest Ontario Therapy again with We Hope This Helps. Episode number 3, Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. Like and subscribe for future videos. Check us out at nwotherapy.com or visit our offices at Suite 202, 920 Tungsten Street, Thunder Bay.